This is The Language of Business with Greg Stoller.
How do you merge sport-specific goals with overarching business objectives? After stints with Nike, Pepsi, and J&J, Dave Mingey is now honing his skills with his own company, The Glide Slope. Joining us from New York, Dave, welcome to The Language of Business.
Hey, Greg, thanks for having me on.
What does the company's name, The Glide Slope, mean?
Glide slope technically is an aeronautical term. It means the proper path an aircraft has to take to meet its landing point. And so a little bit of a metaphor, a theoretical kind of point of view on the sports industry is that we feel there's a lot of planes out there that are circling, if you will, and up flying high in the air who might not necessarily have the right approach to the proper business results they're searching for in the space of sport. So we tended to see ourselves as the handful of consultants, if you will, in the air traffic control tower. Now, so if you think about a glide slope, if you're above it, you overshoot the target. If you're below the proper path, obviously you're probably going to ditch into the dirt. And we want to make sure that our clients have the right approach and the right angle on attack for using the sports industry to affect their bottom line growth.
So what types of clients do you service?
You know, it's sort of an interesting offering for us at Glide Slope that we don't traditionally go after the large sports companies. Our main focus is those businesses whose core is not sport, what we tend to call the non-endemic. So if you think of large financial institutions, healthcare companies, automotive manufacturers, for us it's not really about the Nikes and the Red Bulls of the world. It's more about those businesses whose core, as I said, is not sport, but increasingly are starting to turn to sport as a marketing tool to increase their bottom line.
What does a typical client engagement look like?
Our typical engagement might surprise you a bit, particularly because of where we start out. So for us, when we walk into a client, we're not immediately talking about the excitement of sport. We simply sit back and ask the client a series of questions first that lead us on a longer path to understand what's keeping them up at night. Because as we simply say at Glide Slope, there's no point in using sport, especially considering how expensive it can be around the world, if there's not a direct strategic approach on how it's going to help a company do what they're already trying to do. So again, keep in mind that we're with the non-endemics. So we want to know what a company's focused on. Is it greater retail penetration? Do they have an HR employee and retention problem? Perhaps around the world they might have some government relations issues or are working on some trade and tariff or trying to introduce new innovation for products in new markets. That's most important. And we believe it's very easy to get intoxicated by the sexiness of sport and all the glamour that comes along with it. And we want to make sure, number one, that our clients never lose sight that sport is only a tool to be used to affect to a positive degree what they're already trying to do. So our typical engagement starts with that type of alignment, making sure the executives understand exactly what they hope sport should accomplish for the company, and then moving into a strategic development to align to that goal, and then pulsing them through several series of steps to get all the way to the point of an activation. But then, most importantly, don't stop there. The key point at the end is to measure, and then, as we say, rinse and repeat and go back to the first step. So once you measure how effective sport has been, let's categorize that in a way that the executives who set up the alignment can digest whether this is truly working, and hopefully if it is, in what way can we increase to be even more successful moving forward.
You mentioned on your website that sports has the ability to impact lives and can be leveraged as a business driver. Is that a metaphor, or what does that mean in reality?
You know, when you think about sport, it has incredible power to mobilize communities, to affect individuals, and we really believe that here at Glide Slope, that sport has the power to change the world. In fact, it's sort of a loose interpretation of a quote that Nelson Mandela himself had given. Myself, I had the incredible opportunity to take a leave of absence from my time at Nike, and on behalf of the US government, I moved to Iraq in 2004. Namely to help restart the Iraqi Olympic Committee. And I'll tell you an interesting story from there is that when we played the first Iraq football match and trying to get them re-qualified for the Athens 2004 Olympic Games, it was against Kuwait. And it was the first official meeting that those two nations had had in about 10 years, of course, given the conflicts of the regions. Dramatic incidents of that night dropped probably about in the 80% range. So what we could clearly see is that Sunni, Shia, Kurd, Turkmen, Christian, it didn't matter. They were all concerned that evening with how their national football team was once again taking the pitch and how they would be performing against their neighbor in Kuwait. And so when you think about the Final Four here in the United States, the way the Super Bowl captivates us every Sunday, once a year, sport has this unbelievable power to allow our passions and our sort of expressions of self, our identities, to come forth. And we think that if businesses can understand that and the social and emotional undercurrents that make that such a powerful thing, they can use that and leverage that to great business advantage.
What types of companies compete with you?
In launching GlideSlope, we often got asked about competitors to our offering, and what we like to say is that we really don't believe there's many people out there doing what we do. First and foremost, we come at it with a heavy analytics and insights effort. We really want to understand data to find insights that deliver foresights to our businesses. But specifically in the industry that we call sports marketing or global sports marketing, there certainly are many players that have global consultancies. However, most of those are laddered up to a larger company or even to a holding company family of operating units. And what you tend to see is that they will also often be associated with elements of those companies that represent athletes, that sell property rights, and kind of play both sides of the table, if you will. We thought it was very important in launching GlideSlope that we were independent and neutral in only brand side. So for us, starting with analytics and insights, we obsess on strategic efforts that can move a business forward, but only done so in an objective, free from conflict kind of way. And we believe that offering not only is new to the industry, but is also going to be the most effective way that businesses can truly leverage sport moving forward. Simply focused on their business goals and understanding how sport can drive unique benefit if done well on a strategic platform.
Thanks, Dave. Dave Mingey, president and founding partner of the GlideSlope. Do you think big when it comes to sporting event management?
Coming up, what's it like speaking Chinese with a Boston accent?